As you know, I'm Mel from Double Club, and we're part of the Polygon ecosystem, and we want to get you building on Polygon as fast as possible. So that's why we're doing this MCP server workshop. Double Club is it's a dev community. We help dev communities all over the world. We have over 100 cities. So if you ever want to build on Polygon or want to do something fun on Polygon, you can just tweet at us, contact us, and we'll be happy to support you in any way we can. We are running a demo day on Sunday. Check this link. This QR code will take you to the GitHub repository, which is on the top for this workshop, which is the one that we're going to be able to clone and get running the MCP servers locally on your machine. So I would suggest you to check it. And if not, you can just, I'll share it in a bit as well. And make sure to visit us for the demo day, 6 to 9 p.m. on Sunday. You want to show off what you built. We want to show it off to all of the world. So you're welcome to join us. And okay, let's get to the meat of it. So everyone is on AI right now. Who here has used ChatGPT or any kind of assistant? Probably all of you, right? Who here has already built agents? Any agents builder here? Nice, a couple of people, awesome. And MCP servers, which is like the hot new thing. Who has dabbled a little bit with MCP servers or got it started, at least on their machine? Couple of people there. Okay, cool. So, you know, it's been an evolution. Everything started for a lot of people with GPTs back in 2022 when ChatGPT started. And it's been progressing more and more on how we start using these tools. And MCP servers is a new paradigm of sorts that will help you to get building faster, enable you to integrate more of the tools that you have available, not only for the LLMs, but other tools that you use on your daily workflows, Notion, GitHub, Google Drive, everything that you use. So MCP servers is mostly like an extension to your LLM tools. So you can provide additional context and functionality. So it's not only about getting responses or getting trained answers, but rather extending the training that the LLMs have and give them access to not only this extension of knowledge, but also agentic behavior that can help you build and deploy stuff without you having to go through all of the usual processes. So how can we check them out? So Model Context Protocol, that's what MCP stands for. And what you can think of it is as an extension, a USB kind of interoperability layer that will allow your LLMs to have access to a lot of other functionality that it usually doesn't have. So you're probably using Cursor, Windsurf, or VS Code with some extensions such as Client. Well, Client is more MCP, but just GitHub Copilot and all of these tools that already help you build on top of your IDE. So you can build front-end components, you can build back-end, APIs and Prisma ORMs and get all of these backend stuff, and also even smart contracts. So this is already something that you probably are using and enabling, but how can we take it to the next level and allow the LLMs that live inside, or like, not live inside, but have access to your working environment and enable it even more access so you can start doing on-chain actions, deploy contracts on-chain, get information from the Polygon proof of stake chain, enable web search. You know, sometimes some LLMs like Claude don't have web search enabled, or even start allowing the LLMs to work on your GitHub and on top of your components that you create, have it upload the code and do testing, create issues, and even get information from Notion that can be managed by a content management system. Maybe your marketing department wants to get some stuff built on top of a new website, but you know the flow is usually like kind of slow. Well, what if you could connect the Notion page that the managers or any other copywriter can work on and automatically get it deployed into the website that you're currently running on production? So this is what Model Context Protocol enables us to do. What we're going to do right now is we're going to clone the Model Context Protocol server that we created for Polygon, that it has several tools that will allow you to communicate and deploy contracts without you having to touch a code, just executing a couple of commands. So what we're going to do is learn, build, grow. That's what we're going to do right now. So let's take a look here. And this is the GitHub repository that we need to clone. So I'm going to show a QR code specific for this page in case that you want to scan this as well. And what we're going to do is just, once again, you have like 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to move over to our terminal. And I had already been creating this before. So we're going to, oh, why does it look like this? Anyways, so here we're going to git clone, and we're going to use the, hold up. Yeah, it's fine. And then we're going to switch to Polygon MCP, which is the one that we just cloned. We need to run the npm install. Let me open the cursor first. Let me make this also a little bit larger so you can see. So once you clone it, you will have already several tools enabled by default. And this is something that you can also try to build on top of during the hackathon. If you, whatever you create like a DeFi application, a swapping contract, an escrow contract, you can also build it on top of the MCP server. That would be super cool, but it's not required. What we really want you to start exploring is how to get used to these MCP tools. So whenever you download an MCP server, which is exactly what this is, Polygon MCP, we have the servers, which is the ones that are going to be running locally on your machine, and you're going to have clients that consume these servers. So the client in this case is going to be Cursor. Cursor is a client that's going to load the code that you build, which is this server. And once you build this code and enable it on top of Cursor, you will have access to any tool that is created on top of the server. So there are different servers. You have GitHub server, you have Notion, there's like 200, 300. There's official, there's community servers. In our case, this is a community server for Polygon. And what we're going to do first, we're going to check the README. We have some basic instructions here. We already did this cloning and switching. We're going to install the dependencies. And the dependencies already include the main things that we're going to be using. It's going to install things such as Beam. It's going to install packages such as GraphQL, Prior, basic stuff. And let's explore what we have on the index. So when we start building MCP servers, we usually need to create the entry point where we're going to fully instruct the script that's going to be running when your server is built. So this Index.ts file is usually the entry point for anything that you're going to run, and here's where the script is run. So if you've used Node.js before, this is just scripts that gets run on main. And here we need to enable a couple of .env files. So for example, for this one, we need specifically a seed phrase because we will be using a private key to deploy the contracts. So this key, or this wallet rather, needs to be funded with Paul previously because we're going to be executing some of the contracts, some of the deployments, sorry. And we can also start getting other information from the chain. So here we have the entry point. Here on the contracts folder, we have some base contracts for RWAs that we already have deployed, and we are going to deploy them right now also on the POS and the proof of stake, sorry, and proof of stake chain. The lib has only like basic stuff also for constants and some contracts that you can also place here if you want to get it running. And the tools is where it really, the meat of it happens. So here we have 3 different things. It's going to depend a lot on how you build your own implementation for servers. For us, it feels right to have an index file where you define all of the tools, and this is part of the Model Context Protocol specification. It's a protocol, so it's an open source protocol, but it has a very well-defined integrations and how to build it. That's how the tools get defined. So here we're going to be placing all of the tools, and which are the specific workflows or actions that we want the server to execute. In our case, we will be creating some simple tools such as call a contract, get the ERC20 balance, get ERC20 transfer tool, price, and a couple more that are more specific about deploying. So here are just definitions that the model context protocol requires you to have, where you're going to have the name, the description, and the input schema. So this is all information that tells the server how it's supposed to get running. So all of this is just definitions. The schema as well as for whenever you're going to call a tool, especially if you're going to do something like deploying a contract, you usually have arguments that you need to pass along when calling a contract. So that's where the schemas come in. The types is just basic stuff, interfaces. Here you will place whatever you need just to make sure that you have better handling of typing, TypeScript stuff. And the real meat is here on the handlers. On the handlers is where you're going to be actually creating all of the code that gets run for your server configuration. So for us, here is where we do all the imports. Since we're going to be interacting with the Polygon proof of stake chain, we need to connect Veeam. We will be using SOT for the schema validation. Here are the schemas that we created. And here are some of the imports for the chain, and specifically for the different ABIs and bytecode, because since we will be deploying smart contracts using Veeam, we need this information. In case that you are, for example, we have created these contracts beforehand, so we have loaded them here in the contracts folder. So if for example, if you want to do something new, and we can try it if we have enough time, which we might not, create a new contract and deploy it and share the ABI here. But what we need to do once we get it running and we have cloned it and installed the dependencies, really off the shelf, you can just run npm run build. And this is the process that needs to run. So the server has an executable file that it can be uploaded into the client. So the server is ready. We just ran a build command, and all of the code that we have generated before is ready to be accessed through a single entry point, which is in the build folder here. And we will enter this Index.ts file into our client. So who can remember me which is the client that we will be using? The MCP client. Simple, it's Cursor. So we go to the little cog on the top right, and we select the MCP tab here. And here's where you can add new MCP servers. So for example, I added before, this is like the basic example for weather. The Brave search, which is enabling web search through the Brave API. And this is the Polygon MCP server that I actually had loaded before. So I'm gonna delete it. Oh, you don't have to delete it. So yeah. Here's how you configure the MCP server on your client. So for Cursor, you need to enter this specific, how you say, structure. It's a JSON file. So basically, you need to run the command that's going to execute the file. Depends on which you're using. For example, for the weather one, I use Spawn as a different node runtime. npx for another kind of search for the Brave search. And for this one, we will be using node. The arguments here, once you run the build command, here's where you need to enter the full path that leads into your the index.js file. So that's what we're doing here. Selecting, let me open this again. The environments, so here, okay, thankfully, not all of my words are shown. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's almost all of them. Still, it's already like prepared for this. It only has enough poll to deploy some contracts. So be wary when using this. And once you enable this, let's say, for example, if I even put disabled, I think you can put this true. So I just want to put this so you can check that whatever I make changes there. So cloud. I think I might be on the wrong directory for this one. So let me, yeah. So I'm gonna copy this because it's the previous server. And we will change Polygon MCP, global, and this is the build one. All right. So now this one shouldn't be working. Let's Polygon. Okay. So shouldn't be working, but seems like it's loading the previous one. anyways, so once we upload it, and it should be looking like this. The little green means that the server is live. And we have all of these tools that are already built into the code that we just cloned. So what happens when you want to start building on top of this? So let's say, hey, I want to deploy, let's say the handlers. So I want to get the address, right? So I can just get the address for the current wallet that we have enabled through the MCP configuration and the seed phrase that was partially shown. So you see, I already have access to this get address. So my Cursor environment has access to the Polygon proof of stake chain. So now we can get information about the address. We can check token balance. So let's check another tool that we have here, which could be just get token balance. I think it's price handler. I think it's just the name here. ERC20 balance. So ideally, you should use the proper tool call, but the contract as of ERC20. So let's say balance. So now I'm enabling all of this information into my Cursor. And I know this is very basic, but it's already showing that you have enabled access to the LLM to start querying and getting data from the on-chain information. So now what we're going to do is we're going to access the deploy property NFT, which is an ERC721 NFT contract that has been created here. So you can just check it on the contracts folder. Here's a basic ERC721, and we can just run this this tool, and it's going to directly access our wallet, and it's going to deploy a contract that's been defined before, and it's going to give us the transaction hash and the transaction details. So here's a very simple way that we have shown how to get started building a Polygon, deploying an ERC721 contract without you having to even touch the code. Like, this is the power that enables, and we want to build more and more of these templating contracts that you can just access and start building on top of them. ERC721, this one's related to RWAs. So the next contract that we're going to deploy is the fractional reserve token. So once you create once you create the ERC721, this is going to represent, let's say, a property, a real world asset. And now we are going to create tokens that are going to represent a fraction of each of these, let's say, this apartment in New York. So we have deployed this, and we need a part of the information that we're going to need is going to say deploy property token, and we need the previous address. We're going to need a couple more parameters. It's part of the ERC20 deployment. So we're going to need the name. We're just going to call it RWA token. We're going to put the symbol, just RWAT. And I think we need the property ID. It's one. And it's all coming from the proper handler here. So let's see. So we're here on top. I'm going to run the tool. So this is the one that we're doing. So see, it was as simple as that. We didn't have to touch anything. We didn't have to deploy anything. We just downloaded the code, enable it on top of our Cursor client. If you're using a client, which is an extension for VS Code, which also allows you to run MCP servers, or even on Cloud Desktop, you can just upload this information and put it there, and you can start deploying contracts directly from Cloud Desktop. So I think that's possible. I'm gonna give pause if anyone has one question. I think it's only we only have time for one question. Yeah, sure. Okay, so if you want to run an SDK, you will need to build the the SDK configuration into the handlers, like create a handler for that. Let's say you want to create an SDK for Polygon transfers. So you need to create this function yourself. Build it, like you run the build command, and once you have it built and you have the full path, the working directory of your build folder into the Index.ts, if it runs and builds properly and you upload it, it should be enabled. But you have to build this SDK integration yourself first. But we will be super happy to understand what you're looking for, and maybe we can help you build it so you can have it enabled and uploaded it into a pull request for the GitHub. But yeah, not a problem. One more, yes. Okay, so for this part, the MCP servers are very specific about local development and deployments. So for an agent, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to create an MCP server. I mean, I think technically it will be feasible, but it's for Goat, yeah, you can use Goat for agentic things. In our case, we're just using Beam, creating a wallet client on top of using either the private key or the seed phrase. And once you get loaded, it's a very regular backend like experience where you just build on top of Beam, whichever integration you need. But if you're doing more like agent, using ELISA, using AgentKit or this stuff, I think I would suggest, yeah, use checking Goat or Crossmint, which are similar. We actually are running a grants program with Crossmint on Polygon, and we have community grants. So I would suggest you to start delving into AI. And if any idea that you have, bring it to us. We'll help you like shape it so you can actually apply for the program. And hey, why not get a grant and get building on Polygon? But yeah, thanks for the time. Hope you got some good insights on how to get started. You can just clone the repository and start deploying contracts on Polygon. Thank you.